partner at night, I recognized that the RRT's deployment was necessary due to signs that emerged early on, signals that there were coordinated attempts to interfere with the search. The urgency of the situation grew even more apparent as we saw how certain individuals, especially Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, were consistently working to derail efforts to find Sebastian. Reports from Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, added to the growing list of red flags. He shared how Chris Proudfoot, Sebastian's stepfather, had tried to persuade him to get their story straight about the events leading up to Sebastian's disappearance. This behavior only deepened suspicions that the Proudfoots weren't just uninvolved, but might actually be concealing critical details that could help bring Sebastian home. By September 2nd, 2024, at around 7 a.m., At Night was officially retained to assist in the search and rescue of Sebastian. To tackle this case effectively, I authorized our team to go beyond typical measures. This involved assembling a specialized group composed of civilians, licensed private investigators, and operatives situated across the U.S. We planned for anticipatory aerial support and established search and rescue response funds with surveillance authorized in multiple states. These locations included Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Wisconsin, Virginia, Puerto Rico, Alaska, California, particularly focusing on trafficking by operations, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New York, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, and Oklahoma. At Night entered this agreement with two clear objectives: find Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers and bring him home, or ensure that anyone responsible for his disappearance would be prosecuted and convicted. We quickly discovered that the search was being undermined by a coordinated smear campaign. Several content creators seemed to have made it their goal to discredit anyone trying to help find Sebastian. These weren't just random individuals, these were known personalities, including Queen Bee, SF Investigates, T Rev, Dolly Vision, April Chapman, and others who actively spread defamatory narratives online. Their tactics were sophisticated, using tools like bots and phony social media accounts to amplify attacks. They even coordinated with each other to trim videos and take statements out of context, as was done against Andrew Griffin. I'm sorry, Bullhorn Betty. Their distorted versions of events were then used to sway court decisions, including a protective order against Bullhorn Betty based on selectively edited footage. Similar methods were used against Nick the Hat, who was forbidden from having any contact with Kate and Chris Proudfoot, despite only having minimal communication with them, most of it being from me or others in the agency. In addition to these incidents, I was involved in group chats with Stephen Fisher and the Proudfoots. One group chat included Fisher and Kate Proudfoot, while another included Fisher and Chris Proudfoot. During these chats, there were discussions related to the case, and I questioned Fisher's claim on social media that he was retained by the Proudfoots. This communication raised concerns, especially given the ongoing efforts to discredit those assisting in the search for Sebastian. On September 7th, at 10:36 p.m., I texted Chris Proudfoot, Katie Proudfoot, and Stephen Fisher regarding the ongoing situation. A true and correct copy of the group chat with Kate, Chris Proudfoot, and Stephen Fisher is attached here too as Exhibit 1 and incorporated by reference herein. The following day, September 8th, I reached out to Chris Proudfoot again to ask if he would be available on Tuesday for a meeting with Dog and the team. Shortly afterward, at 1:34 p.m., Nick the Hat and I had a call with Mr. I need to scroll up.
Sorry.
I might have gotten lost. Is that too far?
Maybe I went too far.
Had a call. Okay, yeah. Nick the Hat and I had a call with Mr. Proudfoot since the tip line was linked to my phone. A true and correct copy of the conversation history with Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot is attached here too as Exhibit 2 and incorporated by reference herein. I don't remember this. Have you looked at this? This testimony from Hong?
I've read it, yes.
Okay, I might have missed this one. During that call, Mr. Proudfoot stated that he would involve his friends in law enforcement, asked for a moment, and promised to call back. He did call back, but I chose not to answer based on the advice of counsel, as his mention of law enforcement connections made it unsafe to proceed without legal oversight. That same day, I texted Kate Proudfoot and asked if she was afraid for her husband, suggesting that if she wanted to speak privately away from him, she should reply with the number 2 and then delete the text. Attached a true and correct copy of the conversation with Kate Proudfoot is attached here too. On September 9th, I attempted to contact Mr. Proudfoot twice along with Mr. Chapman, but received a text from him stating not to call back. There was an accidental pocket dial later that day, but no further contact was made. There has been no communication with the Proudfoot since that time. Even Jules, the dog handler, faced false accusations of posing as a TBI agent. It became evident that the Proudfoots were using legal maneuvers not just to protect themselves, but to undermine the investigation and cast doubt on those genuinely working to find Sebastian. During our investigation, we uncovered financial connections among these content creators and a broader network of individuals who were profiting from spreading misinformation. Yeah, I definitely didn't read this. I must have missed reading this one. Donations through YouTube super chats and subscriptions showed a significant flow of funds, some of which were tied directly to individuals with vested interests in keeping the investigation off track. So this right in here, I
Wow.
just kind of want to absorb that a bit. So during our investigation, we uncovered financial connections among these content creators and a broader network of individuals who were profiting from spreading misinformation. Donations through YouTube super chats and subscriptions showed a significant flow of funds, some of which were directly tied to individuals with vested interests in keeping the investigation off track. Okay. So that you're kind of read between the lines there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for instance, Tony Mathis, who was helping in the search, became a target of Barbecue Lady's wrath as she admitted to wanting to take Tony down. When efforts to discredit him failed, they resorted to accusing Mr. Rogers of heinous acts, even attempting to cast doubt on his alibi for the night of Sebastian's disappearance by claiming cover ups and fabricated time cards at the county jail. These allegations were baseless and served only to divert attention from the real issues. The tactics used in this case go far beyond ordinary harassment. They represent a well organized effort to derail the investigation and silence those involved. Evidence suggests a sophisticated attempt to distract, disrupt, and demoralize, spanning state lines and involving numerous content creators, lawyers, and enablers. Adding to the intimidation tactics was an incident at my own home on October 5th, 2024. A white Chevy truck pulled into my concealed driveway around 7:16 p.m., marking the first time in 8 years that such an event occurred. Then he does sequence of events. The truck pulls into my driveway at 7:15. Driver notices the cameras and backs up slightly at 7:16. Then the man exits the vehicle, leaving the truck door open and walks toward the front door. He glances through the garage window. He peers into the dining room window facing the kitchen. The man reaches the front door. He knocks on the door and rings the doorbell. He notices the security camera and leaves. On his way out, he glances again through the dining room window. He checks the garage window once more before driving away. The driver, a middle aged man in a black Under Armour polo and khaki pants, left his truck door open as he approached my front door. He peered through the windows and appeared to have a MDT, a device often used by law enforcement, mounted inside the truck.
Hmm.
What is an MDT? I don't know what
Isn't
that
that
is.
is that a dash cam?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe somebody in chat knows.
I immediately called 911, and the Pennsylvania State Police arrived shortly after. The trooper reviewed the footage, took a report, and requested that the video be emailed to them for internal review in case other officers received similar calls. We were working under the belief that Sebastian is still alive, and these coordinated efforts to derail the search have done nothing but harm a vulnerable teenage boy. The time wasted on distractions and false accusations has left Sebastian at greater risk. The individuals perpetuating these attacks, whether knowingly or not, are assisting in keeping him hidden or are even enabling those responsible for his disappearance to avoid justice. As part of our investigation, I had access to several phone calls involving Chris Proudfoot, Kate Proudfoot, and Seth Rogers. These conversations were deeply unsettling. Somebody says it's a dash mounted laptop like Ellie had. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, man, okay. So then, in one instance, just days after Sebastian's disappearance, Kate Proudfoot, clearly furious, made harsh remarks about the situation. What followed was even more alarming. Oh, he's talking about listening to video, like audio recordings. Is that what he's saying? Had access to several phone calls. Does he
Are
mean
you
like
on
voicemails?
24?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what he's referring to. Had access to several phone calls.
Maybe he was on the call?
Yeah, but it says in one instance, just days after Sebastian's disappearance. So this is days after the 26th. So maybe an old recording. Is that what he's saying? I don't know. So in one instance, just days after Sebastian's disappearance, Kate Proudfoot, clearly furious, made harsh remarks about the situation. What followed was even more alarming. Chris Proudfoot, angrier than I had ever heard, made direct threats against Mr. Rogers and talked about spreading harmful rumors regarding Sebastian.
Oh my stars.
Okay. So this is just days after Sebastian disappeared. And then on
Okay.
another call I was present for, Chris Proudfoot declared, "You'll never find Sebastian," and warned us to keep away from him, his family, and anyone connected to him. It was unnerving to hear such a statement, especially since Sebastian had gone missing after being last seen with Chris and Katie at dinner the night before. Instead of focusing on finding his stepson, Chris seemed more intent on shutting down any efforts to get closer to the truth.
Okay.
People talk about this. I don't know what this is. If this about Chris and Katie dinner the night before, I don't know if
I
that's
think
just
that
in
maybe that's just an error in the statement.
it might be a mistake, or maybe it
Well,
might just be his
well,
understanding
I
of
was
it.
going to say that this is his statement, so it may be the way he understood it, and he
Yeah.
might be a
Gotcha.
little confused, or it's something else.
Yeah.
But I think we probably would have heard that prior.
Yeah.
You know, um,
I don't know. We'll
I
see.
think more alarming though is the thing above that you just read
Yeah.
about the having access to phone calls. So obviously maybe recorded calls. I have no idea.
I don't know.
But and uh, obviously the he'll never be found.
Yes.
Yeah. I
So
don't know.
now that's 3 witnesses to that, right?
At
Because I
least.
think Nick and Dog have said this before, I believe.
Yes.
So now there's at least 3 people that have heard that statement.
Oh,
And this
oh,
is under, of course, penalty of perjury.
look what
Uh,
CJ says.
so CJ from CJ Media says CP told me that I wasn't allowed and couldn't search the neighborhood.
And Jules also had
I
a statement.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I
CP
didn't mean to go ahead.
um, CP Jewell says, Mrs. E, Mr. E's Crimecast, my chain of command was called, my brigade commander. People called them and said I was claiming to be a TBI agent and wanting to go on private property.
Oh, I think that, and thank you for the super
Thank you,
chat.
Jewel.
Sorry that we missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry we missed that. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know if I knew that either, actually, about the TBI agent thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Mm.
that's well, I mean, it's kind of similar to what happened to Nick in a way. People
Mhm.
making false reports about people
To
that are
try to
trying
get them in
to,
trouble. Yeah.
yeah, that are trying to assist and investigate. It's been a common tactic.
And,
I
and
think that,
that does show a pattern of trying to obstruct an investigation.
yes, it does. And yeah, it's not the first time that kind of things happen. Was I finished with the Hong part? Was that the at the
Oh,
end of
I
that?
think
yeah.
that was the last one.
Okay.
Tony wanted to made a comment here.
So Tony Mathis says, and then there's this. We have received information that CP was overheard by a neighbor telling Sebastian that he hated him and wished he was dead.
Yeah, I saw that in Justin's the other night.
Yeah.
I was pretty shocked by that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is.
I would think that that information alone would warrant the police investigating more.
Yeah,
That's kind of
yeah.
sad, Lisa. She says this type of stuff's been done for years in true crime cases on YouTube. This is just the first time someone's fighting back. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
We're new to this world. We didn't know it existed a few months ago.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
I going back to that Murdaugh trial that happened with the Murdaugh trial, the YouTubers were insane. It was a crazy, crazy thing, and I only got to really get the tip end of it because I was just looking at the trial overall. But they went nuts when the son was involved in the boat accident prior to the deaths of the other son and wife. So the YouTubers started in on that family immediately after the boat accident, and it did not stop throughout the entire case.
Roller Girl says, I'm new to all this too, but I've never heard about people getting threatened to search for a missing child. I hadn't either.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's hard to believe. I mean, as far as fighting back, one of the things you kind of think about is like, these individuals that are that do YouTube for like a living in this, it's like their career, or they really need that. It's how they support themselves, that they go on every day and stream and do their shows. And it's not massively lucrative. They don't have the bankroll to defend themselves against things like that. So if it weren't for this organization and this kind of support coming out of
Okay.
nowhere, this kind of thing wouldn't happen.
I'm
What?
going to make one more warning. I'm seeing some hateful comments come through. Again, we don't mind differing opinions as long as they are done in a respectful manner. But calling people liars and different things is not going to cut it. We're not going to do that.
I don't like that anyway, because that's a conclusion.
Yeah.
If you can prove it, it's a little different.
Exactly.
So
just
that
last warning.
that's a brainwashing tactic.
Exactly.
Propaganda, just call someone a liar.
Exactly.
And Trooper's mom said, "Did we see the Channel 2 news? You might have come in later. We'd already showed that. She was
We
just
did.
saying this will be national by tomorrow. I think it's already getting there."
Yeah. So this thing with Hong is a lot.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess I just didn't. I guess somehow I missed reading. But anyway, that's all. I wonder if they've identified the man in the truck yet. If it was,
Was the
Well,
video
there
was
are
there video
pictures.
footage, or I
I
thought
know.
there
Well,
was.
okay, with the exhibits,
I,
what we have is the PDF video like they have their own,
Links.
or my understanding. No, it's not links. It's my understanding they had to submit like drives of some sort, like thumb drives or hard
right.
drives of some sort with all of the exhibits with the audio or video to go along with it. And what we have is just kind of the flat version with the PDF. We don't have any access to that stuff, which I would say though, once it, goes further, this will be available to hear ourselves.
So with this, what I have, this looks like they're going to actually try to make the allegation that there's money changing hands to influence this kind
Right.
of thing. Because what I'd wondered is if this, what they're calling it, the enterprise,
Okay.
because it,
I'm done.
well, just remove them. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
don't.
gonna have people picking on other people in chat and think they can get away with it. I'm
No,
done.
just don't even mention it. Just remove
Yeah.
them. When nobody needs it.
Yeah.
Um, so
I'm just not fooling with it anymore. What was it?
I didn't see it.
so what I had wondered, just the way they were laying it out before, was this going to be kind of like a situation where it was more like an organization? They were going to try to make the argument this is an organization of individuals that were kind of like group think bullying. Like it's always easier for bullies to gang up on one person and move to a new target, or they had other, but not really with kind of any necessarily financial incentive. But it looks like here what they're going to try to establish is that there's some person with a vested interest in, stopping this investigation and smearing Seth, is funneling money through some of these people and
Mhm.
making these things happen. I mean, that's really what this is saying. So that now that might get someone's attention on a federal level, because money crimes, are going to be of interest to the feds that way.